So what we discovered was if you want to own an older home, you have to have a love of the house and the history, because nothing is ever easy, which has always been a challenge when we've had work done here. We've had a bunch of work done trying to maintain what was constructed and do it in a style that hopefully will be around another 200 years. But it's also never easy because there's not a level place on the old floors here. We've still got the old heart pine floors, 200 years old. Well, very few of them are level. As the guys, when they worked out here, discovered there's nothing square. You just have to work with what you've got and try to make the best of it. But it's a labor of love, because if you fall in love with a house and you appreciate its history, this house is on the National Historic Register because the family that built the house in the 1820s was Hartzell. Abram Hartzell was the first mayor, as I understand, of Louisville. And they lived here and were prominent in the community, but they were Confederate sympathizers, as were several in this part of Blount County. And during the war, Abram's grandson wrote what is thought to be the only real published journal of what it was like to be in the Confederate Army during the Civil War.
Was he Texas?
He was, in different places, but that was, there wasn't, because the Confederates didn't win the war, there wasn't a whole lot of interest in people chronicling what it was like to be a soldier, and he did that. And we're fortunate we've had several members of the Hartzell family come visit. They've even shared a copy of the book with us. And there's actually inside a quote on the wall where the grandfather was sitting out front. The grandson came home on leave, got off the boat at what was then the river, walked down the street, and the quote, he remembered what his grandfather says, "Well, I believe that's my will," as he saw him walking up. Of course, that was before there was much communication, so I'm sure it was just, sitting there one day and you see your grandson walk up who's been on leave from the service. But anyway, they ended up moving to Texas because after the war, the editor of what was the Knoxville Journal at the time came out with an article, and in an article he said, and we did get this from one of the history professors at Maryville College, he said, "This is the list of Confederate sympathizers that we now need to take care of. With basically the vigilantes, we got to deal with these people," and the Hartzell's name was on that list, and so the whole family packed up and moved to Texas. And so that's sort of it's still on the register as a Hartzell house because of the journal by the grandson. But so we've tried to maintain the history of this place and to keep so it's around long after us.